I am 100% a self-proclaimed trash talker and problem starter. However, given that, the worst thing that I have ever caused is probably myself a lot of headaches with my significant other. Nothing like the protagonist from this week's movie, you know, global thermonuclear war. We're going to be talking about war games on the Everyman Movie Review. So at the top here, I'd like to say a special thank you to everyone who is staying inside, staying safe, and staying healthy. Thank you for helping us flatten the curve and shorten the time until we can all get back to some level of normalcy. I know that a lot of states are loosening their regulations. I hope that a lot of you have decided to do so if you do safely. That means masks, gloves where appropriate, and continuing social distancing even when you're out in public. If we work together, I know that we can make sure to get back to that normalcy safely and to minimize the number of people who get sick. And a special thank you to all of the frontline workers, the nurses and doctors who go out to the hospitals, the retail workers who are going into stores and stocking shelves, the truck drivers bringing the products to them, and the restaurateurs who are making sure that we can eat something other than our own terrible cooking. A special thank you to all of you who have made quarantine survivable up until this point. Thank you. So a funny thing happened. I realized that in the list in the same streaming service, I had 3 movies that were my favorites from when I was a kid. You've already seen Pleasantville Review. If you haven't, check it out now. And I figured I'd just go ahead, watch the other 2, and give you 2 reviews from 2 movies that really impacted me as a kid. This week, we're going to be talking about war games. Now, you may not be familiar with this movie. That's okay. It was kind of niche even when it came out. When I say it came out, I mean when I saw it in the early 90s, not when it came out in 1986. And it was a partial Brat Pack movie. Ali Sheedy, you probably know her as the emo kid from The Breakfast Club. Not playing an emo kid, playing very much a popular girl in this movie, alongside Matthew Broderick. Yep, that Matthew Broderick, a pre-Ferris Bueller Matthew Broderick. And I gotta say, if you are an 80s or a 90s kid and you heard that description and you're not already just stopping to go watch this movie, what is wrong with you? But before we get too far along, let's go ahead and roll through the rest of the pleasantry, shall we? War Games was directed by John Badham. It was written by Lawrence Lasker and Walter F. Parks. It is starring Matthew Broderick as David, one of my favorite actors from the 80s and before and after, Dabney Coleman as McKittrick, John Wood as Falcon, Ali Sheedy as Jennifer, Barry Corbin as the General, William Bogert, John Spencer, Michael Madston, Jason Bernard, Jesse Goins, Eddie Deason, Maury Chaykin, and basically anyone you saw in an 80s movie that involved the military or nerds. Except for the movie Nerds, actually, ironically. So, War Games. David is a computer nerd. He builds his own computers. Nobody understands it. We get introduced to how proficient David is with computers when he brings Jennifer, the girl he's interested in, back to his house after they both fail a test, and he proceeds to change his grade and her grade as well because he hacks the school's computer. And of course, because he hacks the school's computer, we know, being at home and knowing nothing about computers, that he must be a whiz with computers, which means he can hack anything, including a government computer that may run war game simulation. Now, it's not as difficult as all that. David sees an ad for a game that he really wants to play, but it's not coming out until Christmas. But he sees the office is located in a city that he could call. So he calls every single number in the area code serving that city, hoping that a computer responds to him so that he could possibly hack into their mainframe and play the computer early. Well, he accidentally finds an open line to an old connection to a military computer that was developed to play chess and checkers and then modified to play war games. And he doesn't get in super easily. He does get blocked at one point, but then he does a little research, and there's an amazing scene at a library that no one born after, I don't know, 1995 would even recognize. He goes to a card catalog, and when I saw him go to the card catalog, I was like, oh, old school, what's up? And he's looking through microfiche. Some of you have no idea what I'm even talking about. But after doing some real hardcore old school research, he finds out that the person who invented this computer, he knows his name, he finds out his son died, and he takes a guess that the password may be the son's name, and Bob's your uncle, he's in. So he starts to look through the games list and he's looking for this new game that they're going to be debuting. And what does he find? A game called Global Thermonuclear War. Well, what David doesn't know is that this computer isn't the computer he's looking for. It's not the game computer. It's a computer AI that was first developed to play games and learn, but then was modified by the government in order to make projections about how the Soviets would respond to any kind of nuclear strike. David inadvertently starts a war game simulation, which tricks the entire US government into thinking that his action, playing as the Soviet character, is real. Now, the government knows that he hacked in and they come looking for him, and basically he goes on the run. He tries to explain when they catch him that it's just a game. I don't know what you're talking about. But they don't believe him, even though when he logged off the first time, these missiles that were like 4 minutes from landing just disappear off the radar, and it must be a glitch. And that's what he says, but they don't believe him. I don't know. Anyway, so then he escapes with a tour crew. Like, there's a tour group going in through the Crystal Mountain, which is NORAD, the big mountain in Colorado. And there just happens to be a teenage tour group, and he just happens to like line in with them and nobody notices, and like they don't do a head count where it's like 12 in, 13 out. That's cool. Anyway, he goes to Oregon. Also, this kid flies like from his home in wherever to Colorado, to Southern California, to Oregon. I mean, I know flights were cheap, but like your allowance lets you fly transcontinental all the time. It's a little bit much, but it's the 80s. I don't know. Let's just pretend that it's all accurate. Anyway, he tracks down the designer. He tells him what happened, and the designer, Falcon, realizes, oh, you have hacked into this computer, and it now thinks we are playing a game. It will not stop until there is a winner or a loser. That's how it was designed. And of course, the Americans don't believe that everything they're seeing is a simulation, so Falcon grabs him and they take a helicopter, and then there's a Jeep and there's a chase, and Jennifer meets him. Also, another teenager flies across the country to meet their boyfriend, kind of, but not really. But, like, they're friends, but it's real awkward somewhere. And then they go off to meet this stranger. It's a movie that can only happen in the 80s because that same script beginning, like that same first part of the second act, is the movie that ends with their bodies being buried somewhere and a detective finding them in the 90s, the 2000s. This time they're all good because the guy's a nice guy, and they all race to NORAD, back to NORAD, because that's where he started. That's where David started, by the way. And they barely make it in. They convince the general that although it looks like the missiles are in, it's just doing a simulation, and we just have to let the missiles blow up. And so they do, and then the missiles blow up and nothing happens, and they think they're in the clear, but oh no, we gave the computer control of the nukes. So the computer's about to launch its own nuclear weapons because it thinks it's a simulation, but they're real missiles. And then David, the teenager, who's in a room full of geniuses and military men, figures out that he can trick the computer into learning that some games don't have a winner by having it play tic-tac-toe. So he makes the AI computer play itself in tic-tac-toe. It does like 1 billion games. It never wins. They're always draws. And then it switches over and goes back to the war game simulation, and basically it learns that there's not always a winner in a game. If two sides are equal, everyone can win or everyone can lose. But in this nuclear game, everybody loses. Anyway, so there's this really fitting scene right at the end that the AI computer puts a voice up on the screen, or a text up on the screen, and it speaks in this voice through a speaker, and it says, "Interesting game, Dr. Falcon. The only way to win is not to play." And there we have the lesson from the 1980s. The only way to win is to not play the nuclear game. Now, I know it seems like I'm ragging on it, but that's just because from the perspective of me being 36 and watching it now, it was just, I don't know, I don't want to say that it was bad. It wasn't bad. It's cheesy in the best 80s way. But if you didn't see it when you were a kid, or if you don't like 80s movies, if you're not into that whole Brat Pack, if you're not into John Hughes movies, this just ain't gonna be for you. But if you are, if you can sit in 2020 and enjoy those cheesy 80s movies, this is just another one you're gonna add to your catalog, because it is fantastic in all the ways that is. It's cheesy in all the ways that those are. And it doesn't matter that it's a little out of sorts for today. You know, there is no Soviet Union. It's been gone for a long time, and we are worried about things like coronavirus, not nuclear war. but it doesn't matter. It'll transport you back to being that age at that time, and for that reason, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. It may not be for you, and that's the caveat. Know yourself and know whether or not you'll like it. But for me, if you're like me, definitely a thumb up. Go see it. It's like the typical 110-minute runtime of an 80s movie. You really can't beat it. So it's available on streaming right now. Links are down below in the description. Go and check it out today. So there you have it, yet another episode of the Everyman Movie Review in the books. I am hoping that this is the last closing I'm gonna have to do wearing a baseball cap because, oh, please, let the barbershops and salons reopen. I really need a haircut, and I promise you everything will be back to fully normal once I can get my haircut. But I have been keeping the beard straight. I've been trying to keep my mind straight. I've been trying to keep life together. I hope you are too. I know this can be super difficult, but I hope you're finding a little bit of diversion in these reviews. I'm trying to keep up 2 per week just for you to keep something new coming at you. Life in quarantine is not gonna be easy, but let's take safe precautions so we can move out and defeat this thing for good. Please, take care of yourselves and each other in these times. On a personal level, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all my supporters on Patreon. You guys are the motivation to keep me moving forward. It is so fantastic to see messages about the stuff that I post, when I give you early episodes, when I give you broken episodes. I did an episode about bad education and the audio was basically ruined, but I was able to put together a kind of an episode and I sent it out just to my patrons, so only they know my thoughts about bad education. If you want to be one of the chosen few, it is super easy. Head on over to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek, and for as little as $1 a month, you can join the crew. It'll get you early access to things. It'll get you notes in my books in the future. Basically, the inside line on all the stuff that I'm working on right there at your fingertip. But times are tough. Maybe even $1 a month is too much. Well, that's fine. Make sure you're following me on all social media at Robert N. Cheek. It's totally for free, and the jokes are basically the same. So you're gonna get an insight to my life, my day-to-day. It's not gonna be at the level of the patrons, but you'll definitely see a lot of interesting stuff and see kind of behind the scenes of the things that I'm working on. So you're not gonna wanna miss that. All over the internet, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, everywhere at Robert N. Cheek. And of course, if you're looking for even more, you can find it at robertncheek.com. It's under construction, but it is slowly but surely getting there. You can find links to all of the YouTube videos, or just check out youtube.com/RobCheek. You can find links to all the books, or just search for me on Amazon. All of that is available at robertncheek.com. And if you can't get enough of me, why would you? Make sure you are checking out the Oh the Anthem podcast. New episodes every Tuesday. You're going to find that at ohtheanthem.com, youtube.com/Oh the Anthem, and at Oh the Anthem on all your social networks. And of course, Everyman Movie Review is also on social media. You're gonna find us at Everyman Movie on Instagram and Facebook, and Everyman Movie Review on Twitter. So that's it for this week. Thank you guys for joining me once again. Look for a new episode. They come out every single Thursday and one in between. I'm going through kind of the back catalog of streaming movies right now. It's a lot of older stuff, but I think it's stuff that's gonna get you really excited. I'm really excited, and I'm looking forward to it. So until next time, again, take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great week, everybody.